Hello, hello. Oh, I see people are in the comments already. Joanne. Joanne says it's going to be hard to top the CNC around the craft table. That was a very great video, I must say. We had a ton of fun, and we're already planning our next one. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And Cheryl's back. I know she's been away, and she's here for a live. Excellent. Angela's here. Hello, hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Okay, we're just going to give everyone a minute to tune in, say hello, join in the chat, tell us what you've been up to today. We're not doing a January page. I just put this here because we're just going to review what we've done so far. But you are here for the March Moments and Memories page bundle. I know it's April. For those of you who don't join in on these videos very often, we are always a month behind because the month has to happen before we can, document it. Susan said she was working. Well, I'm not going to lie. I was too. I've been doing a lot of that lately, but that's okay. Things are starting to settle in around here, which is really great. Shelby was out today and she helped me get caught up on a bunch of things, which I'm very grateful for. And Carrie was here the day before. So it's all good. And it is Wednesday already. I can't believe it's Wednesday. I don't know where the time goes. Honestly, I had to go to the dentist today, which is not very exciting. I really wanted to cancel and just say, oh my gosh, I'm just too busy for this. But I went and it was fine. But I was saying, she was saying that she couldn't believe that it was Wednesday already. And I said, I can't even believe it's April 15th already. Sometimes the days feel really long, but all of a sudden another month flies by. So it's nuts. It's just nuts. I mean, I feel like we just did one of these videos and now we're doing it again. Okay, well, we're going to get started. So we are here tonight to do the launch party for the March bundle. But I'm just going to, I get such enjoyment out of these pages and I love seeing my album come together. So I have chosen to put this in an album. Originally, when this series started 4 years ago, I was thinking calendar pages because that's where our mind was at. But, and I know some people do use them as calendar pages, but a lot of you are doing this whole album thing like I am. Some people don't do it every time. They just jump in when they see a layout that appeals to them. That's okay too. We have a very large following of people that do these kits and it's just amazing and so fun. But I like to review. So, and now because the way my camera's set up, I can't zoom out too much. Actually, maybe I can zoom out a little bit. Maybe. Let's see. Oh, look at me go. I can zoom out. Okay. So this is the January page. Now you're going to get the glare from the lights, but that's okay. We'll go back to the other view in a minute. So this is the January page that we did. And this is the February page that we did. And I love them both. So if you have not picked up your January or February page yet, I know we only have like 2 of each one, if we have that. I know somebody, I think we sold another one this week. So we don't make a lot of extras and they don't hang around for very long. So make sure you're grabbing them as you go. But if for some reason you got behind and you didn't grab yours, make sure you do. And then when I flip this, we have an empty space, which means it's time for another layout. So I'm going to put this away. And then of course here, we will be doing a title page at the end of the year to finish off the book. So that is where this series goes each time we do it. And I know we're always getting new people joining in and even just stumbling across our videos on YouTube. So we like to be able just to kind of recap a little bit. I really zoomed out. Let's just see here. There we go. That's a little better. We just like to recap a little bit so that people know. But March is here, and this is the March page. So March is one of those months that's just not really, well, sometimes it can be Easter, but depending on how that all works out. In this case, this year, it was not Easter. So, you just never know what you're going to get in March. I call it one of those like nothing months, or not a themed month because yeah, it's, we're transitioning out of winter and into spring, but it is the beginning of spring. So I chose to go with more pastel colors. This month we're using papers from Echo Park, and I think it's called In Full Bloom. So this is the page that I came up with, and it was a lot of fun to put together, like a lot. So I'm just going to hold it up a little bit here just so you can kind of see some of the details. But you'll notice that Hexagons made a, what do you call it? Not a debut. It's like they came back. I don't know what that means. And then we've got a little envelope on here. You'll notice there's some postage stamps on here. I used this stamping technique last month and I really loved it, so I did it again. And then I did some paper strips, and you will notice there is some stitching on the layout, but that is optional for those of you who do not like repeat performance. Thank you. Oh my gosh, like it left my brain. It made a return, a comeback. That's right. So the Hexagons made a comeback. Of course, there's a tag on there because I love to use tags. So lots of fun elements on here. And then on the calendar page side, this is what that looks like. And I am kind of thrilled with this element right here. I made my own picket fence, which is really easy to do. And I thought it turned out really well. So the reason I ended up making a picket fence was because I had this wheelbarrow sticker that I hadn't used yet. And I thought, I really need some inspiration for that. So I went on Pinterest and I actually typed in cards with wheelbarrows on it. That was my search. And I got all kinds of cards that came up that had wheelbarrow elements on them. And then I just kind of used the card fronts as inspiration. And I don't know, I went off on some tangent. You know how you click on one thing and then you click on another thing and then you're all of a sudden not looking at anything that you were looking at in the first place? Well, that's what happened to me. And I ended up on a card that had a picket fence on it. No wheelbarrow, no birdhouse, nothing. Just had a picket fence. And I thought, ooh, I could put a picket fence with the wheelbarrow in front, and then I could put the birdhouse on top, and then just my brain just started going. So that's how the picket fence happened. And it's probably one of my favorite elements on the page. And I even made a little sign to hang on the picket fence as well. So I'm going to give you a little close-up of that as well. Isn't that cute? I just love it. It's so fun. And Megan says, I see me. Yes, you're in a couple photos there. There you are. This is last year's pictures. We need a do-over day. But yes, so that is the picket fence. So when you put them side by side, this is kind of what they look like. And I think it worked out really well. And I think it is a nice color palette for March. So what do you guys think? That's called creativity. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it is. I just, sometimes you just need like that jumping off point or just a little something to kind of, bring your brain to a focal point, and then it can start getting crazy. I came down with a bit of a scratchy throat today, and it's turning into a bit of a sore throat. So I might run out of water here and I might have to run and get some, but anyway, so that's it. So we're going to go through all the details. Does anybody have any questions that they need to ask at this point? Because I'm happy to answer them. But we will bring in the actual bundle. I got to slide my cart over here. Ugh. Guys, if you saw my room right now, it's so embarrassing. But it has been a busy couple of months, and this has just been kind of a dumping ground for a lot of things. And I literally had to change, I call it change sets, because yesterday I did a live, and all that stuff was still kind of laying on my desk. So I had to take that all off and put on new stuff. So it's kind of like acting, and you just have to change the set. Only not nearly as much fun. Okay, so this is the bundle for this month. And you get lots of fun things in here. So first thing you're going to get is half of a 6x6 pad. So I've been showing new collections lately, and I keep telling my scrapbooking friends that although the 12 by 12 papers are really fun, and I do want you to buy those, and collection packs in full size are really great, don't discount the 6x6 pads or the 6x8 pads as well, because you get lots of bang for your buck in these. And you often get inside these, you get 2 of each paper. So for the calendar, sorry, I keep calling it calendar. For the Moments and Memories, what we do is we split the pad in half. So some of you are going to get the cover on your pad and some of you are not. Okay. So the people who are not just got the second half of the pad, and the people who get the cover got the first half of the pad, but you get exactly the same things. So half of a paper pad. So you get 1 of every sheet of all the patterns in the collection, and they are all double-sided. So you get 2 patterns on each sheet. And then you're going to get a full 12 by 12 sticker sheet. You're going to get white and yellow in full-size 12 by 12 papers. And then, of course, you're going to get a photo of the layout. So that is for reference. Okay. So you can just use that as a little visual. So there is your bundle. Now, we're going to run through all the little bits and pieces and how I use them in just a minute. And then there's also what we call add-ons. And those things are things that aren't included in the bundle, but things that I used on my pages. And if you want to follow along and do what I did, I'll just share what I used. Now, on our online store, there is a section for our Moments and Memories series. And then in there, it's broken down by month. So you'll click on the March month. You'll find the bundles in there. Not yet. When the video's over, you'll find the bundles in there. And then you'll find all of the add-ons that we have in stock on there. Now, some of the add-ons that I used, well, actually, most of the add-ons I used this time, we've used in the past. So I don't want to order in a bunch of stuff that people probably already have. We do have some things available and some things we don't, and we probably aren't restocking them unless people request them. So if you are new to this or you didn't pick it up the last few times we used it and you want to pick it up now, just email us and we'll make sure that we get that for you. It usually takes, a couple of weeks and we can get it in. But I will run through everything that I used. So I have a list here. So the first thing is the March die cut word. So each month I always create a die cut for the calendar side of the layout. So if you're doing that, you want to make sure that you pick that up. And it's funny, when I put all the add-ons on my tray, I start at the top of the list. And then by the time I get to the bottom of the list, all the things at the top of the list are covered. So I have to dig through to find them. So here's your March, and that is cut out of Color Vibe Sky paper. So we have these available for purchase while supplies last. There is enough for everyone if they were to purchase one. But like I said, we don't make these exclusive to just our Moments and Memories people. So people shop on our online store all the time and they stumble across things and they think, ooh, I could use the word March, and they buy it. So make sure you're picking them up each month when you are shopping. So there's your March die cut. And then, and this is in no particular order. I'm just kind of, doing it as I thought of things. But the clear quartz sequins from Gina K, I use them a lot. So if you don't have a package or 2 of these in your stash, I would recommend. They're very neutral. They have a little bit of shine to them, but not too much that it's going to overwhelm everything. They just kind of blend in and they add that just little touch of sparkle that you might want on your page. So I love those. And you can see them, randomly around on the page. Like I've got a couple here and I got a couple down here. There's one up here. And then there'll be some on the other side as well. Sanding block. I say this pretty much every time we do this video because I like to sand the edges of my pictures. And here's a good spot to see what that looks like. So I print my own photos. I print them on a matte paper. So I don't have shiny photos. I don't like shiny photos. I know a lot of people do, and that's okay. But I like to sand them. So whether you have shiny photos or matte photos, you can sand the edges. And it kind of just defines them. Like this photo here, I've layered on top of another photo. And it just kind of gives it a border. So I really like to sand my photos, and that's what the sanding block is for. Natural twine. So we sell this by the yard, and you can pick that up. And I did use that for my sign. And then I also used it over here. I tied a bow for my tag. So that is something that if you don't have in your stash already, or you want to try something new, if you've got something else you want to use, that's totally fine as well. But I did use the natural twine for that. And then obviously a blank calendar page if you want to do the calendar side of the layout. We don't include that in the bundle because not everyone does this side. So we don't want to include it and then just have it wasted. So you purchase that as an individual sheet, and that will be in that section as well. I'm still using the old style of calendar pages. I still have some to use up. We have a new design. It's basically exactly the same, except the font up here is a little bit different. So those are available for purchase. And then I did use I'll say a miscellaneous stamp set. If you want to do this stamping technique that I did on the page here, I would just say, look through your stash and see what you have that works for your layout, however you decide to do it. I did do sort of a spring layout. So I just grabbed a spring set that I had in my stash, and it ended up being Lawn Fawn. So if you guys have this one, it's called the Garden Before and Afters. You can do some really fun and cute things with this. But what I was interested in is some of the sayings. So over here, it says Happy Spring. And then this says bloom with happiness. And then I used something else. Happy spring, blooms with happiness, flowers bloom. Oh, yes. So I actually masked off the word where, and I just used flowers bloom on that one. So again, look through your stash, see what you might have that works with the pictures that you're going to be using. What else did I use here? Oh, black ink and brushes for splatter. So the Winsor & Newton black or the black acrylic speckle works really nicely. You can use ink if you want. And then I recommend this brush set. It's fairly inexpensive, and you get a variety of brushes with different size brushes on the top. So depending on the kind of splatter that you want, these work really well. You can use them for watercolor and all kinds of other fun things too, but I use these almost every time I splatter. So those are in our shopping section as well. And then if you're going to do the stitching, then you will need needles for stitching. And also you'll need some kind of piercing pad or mat. So we sell a little pack of needles like this, and they have different size needles in here. So depending on how many strands of floss you're using, this is a really nice set to have, because if you're using only a couple of strands of floss, you want a more narrow needle. And then if you're using all 6 strands, you want something a little chunkier. So the needles are great. And then we have these 2 options here. Oops, this is upside down. For piercing pads. This one is a 12 by 12 pad. And if Shelby's watching this, I don't know if we put this in the shopping section or not. But this is the Journey piercing mat, and it's 12 by 12. So you can put your whole sheet of paper on top of this mat, and then you can pierce anywhere on here. You don't have to like move your pad around. But if you want something a little more compact, you can go with something like this, the handy foam mat from Spellbinders as well. But you will have to move that around underneath your paper. You did both. You know, that's just because you're that great. So those are good options if you don't have something to pierce on. I recommend those for sure. Now, I'm already making a mess in my craft room here. I'm trying to stay organized. It's impossible, really. Okay. Next up, we have, oh, yes, a stapler, little mini stapler. The tiny attacher is what I recommend. And the reason I use that is because once I laid my white down on top of my yellow, I kind of tore this back, and then I staple it on in a couple of spots just to add some texture to the page and finish it off. I've done that several times in these videos, and that's what I use is the tiny attacher. And then what else is on my list? Okay, white floss. If you want to do the stitching, I used white floss. This is a 6-strand DMC embroidery floss. We sell this by the yard, so you can purchase as much as you'd like. And when I did my stitching, I only used 2 strands. This comes with 6 strands, and so you're going to pull it apart and use 2 strands because I wanted it to look a little bit more like machine stitching, and I will talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. And then I did use walnut distress ink. I'll just point out what I did do here. You'll notice on most of my pieces, there is like an edge around everything, and that is done with my distress ink. And I do use this style of brush to apply that. Oh, I'm not focusing, sorry. So this is, I would say, pretty old school now, but it has a foam applicator on it, and I find it's the best option still to apply ink to the edges of things. You can use your blending brushes, but I just find this is much easier to do when you're doing the scrapbooking instead of card making. So that's what I use. And then as far as dies and things go, I did use hexagons. Now, the set that we have in stock is the Hero Arts Infinity dies, and these are hexagons. So they go from teeny weeny all the way up to this size here. I don't think it gives measurements on here. Oh, it does. So the smallest one is 1/4 inch, and the largest one is 4 1/4. And then you have every 1/8 of an inch in between, I think, is how they go. But they're very tightly nested, which is really nice. The thing is, these don't have stitching. So we've used these lots of times on our layouts, and I love them. But I used a set that has stitching on it, and this is no longer available from our supplier. It's a smaller set, and it was from Echo Park. We did use it. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but it's this little set here, and it was called Hexagon Nesting Die Set from Echo Park. So you might already have it because it was an add-on once before. But if you weren't part of this back then you might have missed out on it, or you may have chosen not to get it. But that's the set I used. But it can easily be substituted with non-stitched hexagons. It's not a big deal at all. And you're just going to use a variety of sizes to create the look that I did. So definitely interchangeable and very easy to use. So that set is recommended to get the hexagons that we're using tonight. And then I did use the A2 postage collage die. This one right here. And if you're a card maker, you have been using this for a while. But what I'm really interested in is this set, this piece right here. And that is what I used to make my postage stamps. So you can make your own embellishments using these little postage stamps, and they're very fun to make. So that is what I'm using on this. Now, if you have the A6 or A7 size, or even the mini slim, if it has a square one in it, you can use it. It's not size specific. You're custom making these, so you can do them however you want. But I love this as an option. I've used little postage stamps on my layouts before, and it's nice because if you're running a little short on embellishments, you just make your own. And postage stamps pretty much work with everything. You can theme them to whatever you want. So I quite like it. And then, of course, I used the little postage stamp sets that go along with this line of products from Waffle Flower. So there's the original postage stamp set, and then there's a fall one. Now, I wasn't really interested in the fall part of it, but what I was interested in, and I'll just point this out, is see this little mark here, the postage mark? This one has a small one and another small one. So they're just a little tinier, and I like that. And then I also used some of the numbers from this, but I also used numbers from this one too. And I did use, which one has the word express? This one has the express word on it, but this one has first class mail. So you can definitely mix and match them. But I do like that this set has some smaller icons that I think work well for the smaller postage stamps. So that is why I chose both of them. But if you have any of them in your stash, that have those kind of markings, then it will definitely work. And then I had to make a little envelope on here, and that is the medium envelope from Tailored Expressions. So again, we've carried this product in the past, although we've not used it on a layout, I don't think. Maybe we did, I can't remember. But I didn't order in these specifically. Shelby, I'm not sure. Maybe you can answer. I don't know if we had any of these in stock or not. If we did, it's only going to be 1 or 2. But we can definitely order this. And we order from Tailored constantly. So it's not a problem. As long as they have it in stock, we will definitely bring it in. If you have a different size envelope, then you can certainly substitute that as long as it fits in here. And if it's a bit smaller, maybe you can make 2 of them. It's out of stock now. Okay, no problem. Maybe you can put 2 of them on here instead of just 1, just to take up the same amount of space, so you can get creative with it that way. But definitely let us know if you need us to order an envelope. Maybe you need one and you're thinking that you'd like to order one in. So we can definitely do that. Then, okay, my pierced, this tag, I didn't pull my set off the wall, but this is the Tailored Expressions pierced tag stacklets. So you can see how it does that piercing edge to it. I've used this a dozen times on layouts throughout this series. So I think most people have it. They have a plain set too that doesn't have the dots on it. Either one will work. But I use the one with the piercing. And same thing with this tag reinforcements die at the top here. I've used that at least a dozen times as well. So if we don't have them in stock right now, we will be restocking them. It's kind of a staple. But if you want to be added to the notify list for that, just let us know and we can do that. Okay, so that's it for add-ons. Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about is the colors of cardstock that will work well with this layout. I know people like to buy cardstock to mat their photos. You'll notice that in most cases, I don't mat my photos, but I know a lot of people like to. Like on this side, I don't mat any of them. But if you like those little pops of color, okay, tag reinforcements are in stock, but not the tags. And the envelope is out right now too, which is no big deal. Because like I said, I wasn't too concerned about it because a lot of people have these elements already. But I'm going to suggest some colors from our Color Vibe lineup of cardstock that will work nicely with this color palette. And the first one is Pear. So that's the green. Sky is the light blue. Peony is the pink. And Buttercup is the yellow. So all 4 of those colors will be in our shopping section. And you can pick those up if you want. They will work well for matting and so on. Okay, any questions? You guys are super quiet. Any questions about add-ons or anything so far? Just, jot them down in the comments. I'm happy to answer as we go along. I'm going to take each section of the layout and we'll talk about what I used and if there are any measurements that you need to know for that. So in your bundle, you get this paper pad, half paper pad. So that is what you're going to use to make your picket fence. Okay, so in here, you're going to find, if you want to do it the same color I did, and this paper pad is very flexible, and so is this layout. Because you can use any combination of papers for any of the elements that are on here. The palette is very cohesive. It works very nicely together. So you can mix and match the patterns however you want. And I will point a few things out when I get to the second half of the page as to why you might want to do that. But this is the paper that I used for my picket fence. I did use the floral as well for a couple of other elements. So make sure when you're putting your page together that you kind of watch the video just so you know if you want to use the exact papers that I use, that you don't start cutting things and go, oh crap, I didn't leave enough for this. But like I said, there's another blue paper in this pad that you could use for your fence if you wanted to, or maybe you want to make your fence pink, or maybe you want to make your fence yellow or green or whatever. There are papers that you can use in here. We don't use all the paper. There's lots left over. So what I did to make the fence was I took this paper and I cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that are 1/2 inch in width. And then I did shorten them to 4 inches in length. Okay. So once you do that, then you're just going to cut the angles on the top of the pickets. Now I'm going to hold this up so you can see that. See how there's an angle on there? All I did was I measured from the corner of the paper down and over the same measurement. And it's literally like an eighth, not an eighth. Maybe, well, it could have been an eighth or 3/8. No, 3/8 is going to be too big. I'm pretty sure it's an eighth of an inch. It's very tiny. Yep, it's an eighth. So you're going to take the corner, and I'll flip it over. So you're going to take this corner and you're going to measure down and over and put a little tick mark. And then you're going to cut from tick to tick across there. You do that on both sides. And then you use that picket as a template for the next 4. You just lay it on top and then snip, snip, and you're good. And that's how you're going to create these pickets. So they have the angles on the top and nothing on the bottom. And you need 5 of those. So again, to repeat that, that's 1/2 inch by 4 inches in length. And then these ones, you're going to take and cut 1/4 of an inch by 3.5. Now, you might find your measurement this way varies a little bit depending on how far apart you put the pickets on your fence. So if yours are a little more spread out, you might have to go with a longer piece here, but it depends how you lay them on your page. But that's how easy it is to make a picket fence. And what I did do is I placed these longer pieces on my glass mat. I had them all perfect the way I wanted. And then I took some tape. I took this tape here, which, by the way, I think we're out of stock right now. We are waiting for our shipment to come, unless Shelby puts them out today. I know she was emptying Spellbinders, but this is the 1/4 inch Best Ever Craft tape. And once I had my pickets laid out on my mat, I put a piece of tape across to hold them in place perfectly. Then I put my adhesive on the back, put them on here, and then I gently pulled the tape off. So that way it kind of gets them in place, and then you can just move the whole thing at once. So I thought that worked really well. Tape is back. Thank you. So yeah, this comes in different widths. There's 1/4 inch, and then there's 1/2 inch, and there's even 1 inch. So there's all of those. But that's how I made the fence. So super easy. And then I just used one of the stickers from the sticker sheet. I'll pull this over here so you can see. Let me find it. Right here, the one that says Hello Spring. You might want to choose something different. So kind of watch the whole video, see where I use things, and then you can switch things up however you like. But I thought that looked kind of nice for a sign. And I just punched a couple of holes there, and I put my twine through it and tied some knots on the front. And then I just hooked it over one of the pickets. So that is how I created that part. And then the birdhouse is a sticker on your sticker sheet right here. I just put that at the top. And then there is this bird right here, which I put here. And then the wheelbarrow, just right here. And then I did find a flower. There's flowers kind of all over the place on here, but there's a large blue one somewhere right there. And I just popped that right on the front of the wheelbarrow there. And that's how I finished that off. So pretty easy to create that little scene. And then up at the top here, we've got that little envelope. I'm just looking for it right here. So there's the little envelope sticker. And then I put a little hello sticker and a little flower with 2 pieces of greenery in the back. So it's kind of like playing Where's Waldo right here, because you have to find all the pieces, but they are all on here. Where's the little hello sticker? And you might be screaming at me saying, it's right there. It's right there. But I don't see it. Oh yeah. Here's the little hello right there. And then there's just a little blue flower. And then there are a couple of stickers that look like this, these little sprigs. See them? Those are what I put in behind the flower there, just to kind of decorate that. And I think that's everything. And then, oh, one more thing. I just put a couple of random flowers. Can you see the little ones here? Around the fence. And then there's a little pink flower here and a little pink flower there. Depending on how you lay your photos out. That's kind of how that all worked out. And then I did take a blending brush and some green ink, and I just kind of ink blended behind the fence, like kind of like grass right there. You can use any green ink that you have and just do a little ink blending there. And then it just kind of makes it look like a little scene. So that's that side. And then on this side, the yellow paper in your bundle is going to be your background. Okay. And then the white piece, you're going to lay over top of that, but you're going to shorten it just a little bit. So my finished size is 11 and 5/8, both directions. And that'll give you that nice yellow border all the way around. Okay. And then I just use the full sheet. I don't use it anywhere else, but you can cut the middle out of it if you want. So you can save that paper for something else. But I decided to do, just leave it the way that it was. I'm just using the whole sheet. Okay. And there you can see all my fancy stitching on the back. So that's how I did that part. The two pieces here that I used for photo mats, those are the reverse side of some of the papers. So let's just flip through here and see. That's not that one. I'm looking for the pink one. So the pink one is this paper here, and this is the front. Okay. So I don't really think, oh, I did use a bit of that on the stripe right here. But other than that, you have the whole sheet to do whatever. And then the yellow one is this one here. Is that it? Maybe not. Yep, that is. So that's this piece. And oh no, it's not. I know what I did. Because I'm thinking the stitch is too big. I used one of these. I lied, guys. So this piece here. So I actually put a photo over this. That's how that one started. I want to say there's a photo over top of that one too. It is. So here is this boot piece. I put a photo over top of that. And those are my two photo mats right there. So they're 3 inches by 4 inches. And that is what I used for the photo mat. My picture covers up all the design and just leaves the border. So yeah, that's what I did on those. And that's this one here. So that's the two photo mats. And then the envelope is the rain boot paper, but it is the reverse side. And that's what I cut my envelope die out of. Now you do see the pattern on the inside. It has the rain boots on it. I ended up putting a photo in there, so it covers up most of it anyways. Then I added a sticker. There's a large floral on the sticker sheet, and then the life in bloom, just to add some decor to that. Over here, I added a flower, and I made my own postage stamp, which I'll show you how I did that. And then up here, this hexagon here, all of the hexagons, these 3 large hexagons right here, are all created from this paper, the cut apart that has the squares. Okay, so there's 4 squares on here. So each one of those, I don't know why my lights are acting so weird tonight. Everything looks overexposed. Anyway, this one, and this one is what I use the hexagons for. So when you do your hexagons, you're going to pull out your hexagon dies, and you're going to find one that kind of fits your area that you want to cut out. And once you get that, that's when you're going to go ahead and run that section through your die cut machine. So you can see that this works perfectly with this die cut. And now I use this set because I have the ones with the stitching, but you can see how easy it is to use either the ones without stitching. These ones we have in stock. This one I can't get anymore, but it just fits perfectly right over top of that. And same thing with this. You're going to sort of center that till you get all of your words in there, and you decide how much of the floral you want, and so on. And same thing with this. Okay, so that's what you're going to do to create those hexagons. Someone is asking how big that envelope is. I have no idea because it was a die. I could tell you the finished size. So it measures like a little over 2.5 inches, 2 5/8 across. And I'm just going to go to this part, like this part of the envelope here is about 1 3/4. And it is the medium envelope from Tailored Expressions. So that's how I created that. So the hexagons are great. You can use them to cut out the actual cut aparts. And that's why these pages are so fun, even when you buy the 12 by 12 papers, because you might not want to use a 3 by 4 card, but you might have, like in this particular instance, I love this one. I never made it on the page, but that's an arch. I have arch dies. and they're nesting. So I could find the arch that best fits this, and then I could cut that out and I can use that as an element. So now it becomes a piece of paper into a piece of ephemera. So I think these nesting dies and shapes and things are so fun when you're creating layouts because you can just cut everything up. Yeah, and so for the other hexagons, I just chose smaller sizes, and I just used some of the patterns that are in here, like the B-sides, the ones that have little flicks or tiny little flowers or stripes or whatever, just to cut some coordinating ones that go kind of around them so you have a cluster. Okay, so on this one here, you've got the pink one and the blue one. Up here, you've got another pink one and the yellow one. And then on the tag, there's a yellow one and a blue one in behind. So you just kind of layer them so that you get, you know, something that appeals to you. So that's how I did those larger ones and the smaller ones. And up here, again, I just chose a word sticker. I made my own postage piece, the floral. This is also a sticker. It says spring, and that's kind of like the title on my page. And then a butterfly over here. And then over here, we've got that spring is in bloom with spring is blooming with possibilities, another postage stamp, another word strip, a floral, and then your hexagons. And then over here, again, I've got that tag in the back, and I used, it's a pink stripe right there, this pink stripe. So that's the back of the other cut apart sheet. I used that to create the tag. And then another color on the top, just a blue stripe on the top there. And then added some stickers. And then a word strip in the back. And then I used the twine on the tag. So really easy to put together. And then the strips. So the strips range in size between 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 1/4 inch. And you just mix and match them however you want. Now, when I picked out this collection, I'm ordering months and months in advance. Now, I'm also using last year's photos. So I guess really I could have gone and looked to see what pictures I would be using. But I'm telling you right now, that did not happen. I look at my photos when I do my layout. That's exactly when I'm doing it because that's when I have time. But it turned out that Olivia, I had this series of photos. She had come over to my house and we ended up going for a walk, and it had been raining, and she had these rubber boots, and she was sort of at that Miss Independent stage. She wanted to put it on. You know, I do it. So anyways, I took pictures while she was doing it, and I had these really adorable rubber boots photos. So it kind of worked out because there's a rubber boot pattern paper in here. So I focused on that when I did my layout. I'm looking for it right now. Did I flip by it? Yeah, here it is. So I focused on that when I did my layout because I had pictures that had rubber boots in it. You may not want rubber boots on your page or umbrellas. So you can avoid those papers altogether. But when I used them, the determining factor about how wide that strip was the width of the boots. So I was able to cut that with my trimmer, and that's how I decided how wide the boots were going to be. And then I just played with the other papers and made them wider or thinner as necessary. So I'm not really going to give you measurements for that because it's going to vary depending on what paper you use and where you position it. Some are layered on top. Like I wanted all the umbrellas to show. So that one's layered on top. And then these are tucked underneath. And the same thing with the rain boots. That's on top because I wanted that to be a focus. And same thing down here. And some of them only 1/4 of an inch is showing. Some of them more like 3/4 of an inch is showing. And then some might be 5/8. So it just depends. You can cut all your strips the same size, and then you can just tuck them in and have different amounts showing if that's easier for you. But don't get too caught up in actual measurements. Just lay your strips on, and as long as they differ a little bit, I think you're going to get the look that I've got here. And all of my strips were 6 inches long. And then you can see that I varied, how they stuck out down here, and the other end is covered. And same thing on this. They did vary a little bit here, but then I made this cluster, so I ended up covering some of it up, but they're not always as long. And if you need to trim them down a little bit, you just trim them down a little bit. But I started out with 6-inch lengths for all of them. So that's how that is. Susan says, is the hexagon on the tag the same size? This one is the same size for all three. Yeah. Because they are all cut out of those squares, but the ones in the background are slightly smaller, just so that you can have them tuck in and out. This blue one might be the same as this. I don't know for sure. I can't rip it up to find out, but as long as you get, you know, a layering look to it, it makes no difference at all what size you use. So, because you're only seeing a tiny little bit of it. I'm looking at this and it kind of looks like it might be the same size as this one, but the yellow one is slightly smaller. But you can mix and match your hexagons. Trust me, it's so easy to layer them and make it work. You won't be too hung up on the size. So that's how I did the strips. And then I did do stitching. And I'm going to hold that up nice and close so you can have a look. And what I did was I focused on the edges, like where the papers meet. So here on the outside edges of the cluster, I did like a zigzag stitch. And then on the inside, I just did a straight stitch wherever the seams met. And it was pretty easy to do. So all you're going to do is pierce your holes. I'm just going to grab a scrap of paper here. We'll use my measurement sheet. It's very easy to do. All you need is a piercing tool and a needle and thread and a ruler. That's what I use as a ruler. So let's say my paper was here and I'm going to pierce my holes. Now, the thing you need to know about piercing is the shaft of your piercing tool has a different width at the tip than it does further down. So the more you push this in, the bigger your hole is going to get. And if you're just doing fine stitching, you only want to use the tip. If you want a bigger hole, you're going to push it in further. So I was working with fine stitches. So I go every 1/4 inch and I just push in a little bit. And that way my hole is small. Okay. I'll show you some where I push all the way in and you can see the difference. So here's the difference with the holes. So just the tip and then pushing it all the way in. And that makes a big difference when you are stitching, because if your hole is really big and you're only using a couple of strands, you really notice the hole. But if your hole is small and you're just using a couple of strands, you don't really notice the hole so much when you are doing the stitching. And that's when it looks more like a machine did it versus your hand. See how you can't really see my holes too much? Some of the zigzag ones you kind of can a little bit. I went a bit too deep, but some of the other ones are really tiny. Now, what's somebody asking? Did you stitch all of the strips before placing? No. I did my whole page and then I added the stitching. It was an afterthought for me. And the thing is, you don't need to stitch underneath here. So that way it's not creating bulk either. Like I'm not stitched underneath and then having to put this on top. I just stitched where I needed to. Does that always work? No, but it did in this case. It was fine. So I just stitched where I wanted to add the stitching. And then to do a straight line, you're just going to do your lines like that. But if you want to do a zigzag, you're just going to offset your ruler a little bit below. So you have a piercing point in between. I'm just going to put a few here so you can see. So see how my second row below is in between the above row? Does that make sense? So when I stitch, I'm going to go from here to here and then up and down and up and down and up and down. So it's very, very easy to do. I love your answer. What's my answer? No. Heck no. Oh my gosh. Well, if you watch the crafting live that we did yesterday, it was, I even forget what we call it, Around the Craft Table, I think. It's a new series we're doing. Christina and I crafted together. So there's 2 of us on the screen. And it is live crafting. And I had a little bit of trouble with the eyes on my little critter. Here's the card that I did. Not related to calendar, but here it is. And I was struggling with my cat eyes. And oh my gosh, that is me crafting. Like it is, honestly, like when you see me here and now, I've already made all my mistakes and done all the dumb things. You just don't get to see them. If I filmed my actual process, it would be a very long video. And oh my gosh, my brain is bonkers. It does all kinds of crazy things, but a lot of things are an afterthought for me. And this isn't even how my layout started. In my head, I was going to do a lot of things with envelopes. There was going to be a lot of envelopes, and that idea might come up in another layout, but it just wasn't working with what I was playing around with. So I totally switched focus, and I ended up with strips, and yeah, so it was a whole different thing. But that's the part I love about creating these layouts, is that starting point and ending point are often very different, but the creative process is what I really love. So I have a ton of fun making them. It's just great. But yeah, that's a true answer. Heck no, I didn't do it before. I just added it afterwards, and it worked out just fine. Okay, I think I covered everything. Oh, postage stamps. To show you how to do that. So this is actually really, really easy. So all you're going to do, oh, I should have cut one out ahead of time. Okay, let me grab, I got to cut out a base so I can show you. Oops, here's another one on the ground. So here's a couple of them that I made. But all you're going to do is take this. Okay, no, I'm not going to cut it out. You don't need to see that part. Okay, so what you're going to do is take this die, the square postage die, and you're going to cut it out of white paper. So you're just going to end up with a postage stamp piece kind of like this. Boring, right? Then what you're going to do is pick any paper that you want, and you're going to cut out a square with your trimmer that is 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. And that's going to fit in the middle of the stitching on this postage stamp. So see how it just fits in the middle there? And then you're going to ink the edges, and you're going to add some stamps on top, and you're done. That's it. So I inked the edges of the pattern paper, but not the base of the stamp. And here is another one. So I liked the paper that had the butterflies in it. Let's just see if I can find which one it is. This one. I really liked this one. And that's the paper that I used for my postage stamps. So again, when you cut out your squares to go on here, you can pick if you want to have butterflies on it, or just the corner of a butterfly, or just the flowers, or whatever you want, because you're making them. So you can do whatever you want, but that's how they end up. And then they end up as embellishments for your page. It's very, very easy to do. So you can go through your paper scraps and make tons of postage stamps, but you can make them all themed. So like you can have Christmas ones and Halloween ones and fall ones and Father's Day ones, and whatever kind of paper you have, you can make little postage stamps, and they're really fun to use on anything. Okay, Carrie says we haven't really had spring yet. I will really have to think about what picks to use. Okay, well, I'm glad that you brought that up, Carrie. I'm going to put your comment right up here on the screen, because that is a very good statement to bring up this topic of conversation. Just because, okay, I guess my question first of all should be, are you using this as a layout like I showed in my album? So are you doing the monthly series where you have a page for each month? Like, are you following that format? Because if you are, the page is, in my instance, let me grab my album again. In my instance, this is all the scrapbooking I do in a year. Like, I don't have time to, actually, I want to go to this one because this is a better example. I don't have time to scrapbook every event that takes place in a month. So you're doing this. Okay, good. So you'll notice February's page. So February is in the dead of winter. I've got florals and all kinds of things happening here. But you'll notice the photos that I'm using on this page have nothing to do with the papers I used. So these are all hockey photos. And nothing on this paper is hockey related. So my point being, although this is a spring page, it is just signifying the time of year that this is happening. You don't have to have spring themed photos. Your photos will tell their own story. The paper is just showing you the time of year. That's all it's doing. I'm going to bring up an example. I'm kind of leaking some information. So for July this year, I'm doing a Canada themed layout. We haven't done one yet in this series. And I just, I found some paper and embellishments that I really want to use. And I think it's going to be great. But not everybody has a July where they've got Canada t-shirts on and flags flying and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what you're doing in July. It is a Canadian summer. So you can use whatever photos you want. If you happen to have Canada themed photos, maybe you're traveling somewhere in Canada, maybe you have a backyard Canada Day party, whatever, that's great. But that doesn't mean that you can't use the layout, because all it's doing is signifying the month and what takes place in that month. But that doesn't mean your photos have to be exactly like that. I'm a firm believer in that, but that's my opinion. If it really bothers you, you might have to get creative, but that's just something to think about, food for thought. Because sometimes, let's take January, for instance. Sometimes people are traveling in January and they're going to tropical locations to travel, because a lot of people take trips in January and February. Well, this is the month of paper that we're using because it's winter here. And I have done previous years of this calendar series, and I used to have trade shows all the time in January, and I would always take my kids with me and we would go and do these things. So my January pages were winter pages with travel photos on them because that's what I was doing in the month of January. But in my world, January is still winter. So I still had snowflakes on the page and all that kind of stuff. And that's okay, in my opinion. So again, you kind of have to decide for yourself. But yeah, it's like whatever. And I mean, Monica says she's 19 years behind. She'll have plenty of spring photos to use. So again, maybe Monica is not necessarily doing an album in chronological order for this year. Maybe she's just using these pages just to do her scrapbooking. Then you do have more flexibility. But it just depends on how you're approaching things and where your mindset is. But just, food for thought. You don't always have to follow along with the theme of the paper, and it'll still work. So, and then somebody else asked something. Do you pop up the stickers? Do you pop the stickers you used up? Well, it depends. Sometimes I pop things and sometimes I don't. And you know what? My answer to that question is, if you feel like you should pop it, then pop it. If you don't, then don't. But I'll just bring mine on here to show you. I popped this spring up. I popped this flower up, but everything else there is flat. The butterflies popped. This is popped. The flowers popped, but this isn't. So again, some things are and some things aren't, depending on what looks good to me at the time. I don't really follow a lot of rules when I craft. Even though I'm doing this and sharing it with all of you, this is my version of using these materials. So in other words, it's going in my book and I got to be happy with it. So I really try to create something that I am going to love for my album, but also try to inspire you as I go along, which is kind of a double job. So sometimes I think that I would do things a little bit differently if I didn't have to worry about sharing it with all of you guys. But I am always very happy with the way my pages turn out. And you should kind of adopt that philosophy for yourself as well. If you don't like the way that I've done something on one of my pages, this is just your inspiration. You definitely can pick and choose which elements on here you love and, base your page off of that. Or maybe I didn't add enough photos for you and you want more photos. Well, you've got that option too. See, I had extra photos and I ended up putting them here and here. My original plan was to just have the cluster of photos kind of up in this corner, but I didn't want to waste these. So I ended up putting them on there. And I don't know, maybe in the design world, that's not an okay thing to do, but I liked it. So it worked. Is there a postage stamp? Yes, there is. So this is the original postage stamp. Is that what you mean? Because this will add the denominations to the stamp and the little marks that they use when they run it through, that kind of thing. So that's the only thing that I know of that is a postage stamp, and that's what I used. So if that's not what you're referring to, I'm sorry. If you can just clarify, I can answer that. I love this layout. My sister and I went to the spa and had a great day, and this layout is perfect. Oh yeah, spa days. Even if you're just inside, like I got to say, during our store move, Oh my God, my photos are terrible. I'm going to rely heavily on my daughter for next year's photos for late February and all of March because mine are awful. And I thought April was going to really be terrible too, but I forced myself to go and do something and then I took some photos. So it was really great. But yeah, it was just, no, that's fine, Carrie. I'm glad you asked. You got to work with what you have. And I'm kind of over, I mean, I went through a phase. Well, I went through several phases in my scrapbooking life where I would like create moments and photo scenes so that I could do certain layouts or use certain papers. I know you guys all know what I'm talking about. Like let's say you bought like dog paper and you don't have a dog, so then you have to make sure you go over to your friend's house and play with their dog and make sure you get really good pictures so that you can use this dog paper. I may have done that. So the thing is, I really like to create pages that are based on my real life now. Like my kids are grown. I don't see my grandkids every day, so I don't have constant photos of them. But my life is kind of real. Like sometimes I just don't have exciting things going on. So next year, some of my photos might be of my store transition. Like that's what I was doing at the time, and I'm pretty sure there's not going to be store transition paper. So I'm going to have to work with what I got. Anyways, now I'm rambling. I used to coordinate my boys' outfits to match paper. Oh my God, yes. Like we all did it. I vividly remember this one time really early in my scrapbooking journey. We were at Grand Bend. And if Amanda's watching this, I know she's laughing already. So in a scrapbook magazine, I saw this beautiful sunset and the kids were holding hands and they were sort of walking towards the water. And I was going to recreate this so I could do that layout. That's how literal I was. I have to have the same pictures, the same papers. Everything has to be the same. So this was at the end of a day. And it was a long, hot day. And the kids were all covered in sunscreen and they were tired and they just wanted to go home. And I wanted them to walk towards the water in the sunset so badly. And they were fighting and punching each other and doing all. And I'm screaming at them because I want this perfect shot. I don't think we ever really got it, but it was just like I look back on it and it was hilarious because in my mind I thought that's what I had to do, but I'm giving you permission to not do all those things because it's just not real. But at the time, it's what we did, you know? Anyway, I'm rambling. My hour is up. So I'm going to sign off. And I hope you enjoyed the page and the little tutorial and my stories and all the fun things that go along with it. But until next month, we will see you then.